Welcome back, welcome in, however they're saying it over in the Olympics, and welcome back to North Texas, Brett. And we are the Loyal Sons. This is the Loyal Sons podcast. We are the Loyal Sons of the great state of Iowa, our big three of the mighty Midwest and Midwestern sports. And overall, the Big 12 conference, which, I'm going to back off a little bit on saying it's the best conference in all of college sports, just because, maybe stretching the truth a bit there. But we're one of the most fun to watch. We're one of the most fun to watch. Anyways, I am the Hoff, here with my glass of ice-cold Steeple Ridge, and along with my co-host, Brett. Brett was just recently down in Del Rio, which you hear in many country songs. Yeah, how was old Del Rio, Brett?
That was very interesting. Beautiful. It was a lot bigger than I thought. I don't know why I thought Del Rio was some small town, but we went out to Lake Amistad. That was beautiful. We went for a hike at Seminole Canyon. That was cool. Got a boat across the border, so took the boys to Mexico for the first time. So it was fun. It was definitely an experience. Got to hang out with family. It was amazing.
That's the first time the boys have ever, on ground, I should say, have gone across the border, haven't they?
Well, they weren't on ground. We were on water. So we floated into Mexico, took some pictures, and then we saw some border patrol, and we floated back to the United States.
Gotcha. Well,
I've
had
the first time they've been to Mexico.
Heck yeah, man. I've only been down to Mexico to go to Cancun, and then I Big Bend walked across the border with my buddy Pete. He chose to go across the border and get a taco from random taco stand out in the middle of nowhere, which he regretted later that night.
See, I wish I would have took our passports. I don't know why I didn't, because I definitely would have took them across the border to get some authentic tacos and then let them have that experience.
Sure, man.
It would not have been the day before we drove back, though.
But what a great experience it was. Tried to get a little fishing in, you said. Just great sightseeing and everything. And it's just southern Texas, for as desolate as it is just a beautiful country.
Oh, yeah. And I think I found out I am PETA's secret weapon against overfishing. So my in-laws,
because you prevent fish from being caught?
Yes, because my in-laws were down there and they're like, oh, we're catching 30, 40 fish a day. I get on their boat and we catch 3 in 2 days. So I think I'm PETA's secret weapon against dolphins getting caught in tuna nets. They just need to put me on the boat and no tuna or dolphins will be caught.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm probably not much different. I don't think I've successfully fished in years.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you've been kind of off out in the middle of nowhere with very little cell service. I think with this episode, as far as just catching you back up on things that have been going on, where should we start? Actually, before we get started on anything, I do want to say something that, I don't want to start off today's episode on a sad note, but, since we are both, natives of Iowa, and this show is very heavily focused on the Midwest and the state of Iowa, it would be doing a disservice if we did not recognize 2 things that were very tragic that happened back in the state of Iowa recently. Unfortunately, the Iowa Lakes Community College baseball team, their bus was in a car crash along the highway where one of the members of the team, unfortunately, was killed and numerous players were injured. So thoughts and prayers are with the Iowa Lakes, baseball team, and also to this weekend, freshmen at the University of Northern Iowa. So the Panthers up there at UNI, which don't often they kind of get overshadowed by the other big 2 in, the state of Iowa, but still with heavy hearts. Hate to say it. Hate to even talk about this. Parker Sutherland, who collapsed after a workout, I believe Friday night. He passed away. So just tragic. 18-year-old kid following his dream, gets to play football at UNI, which is a huge opportunity. UNI is no slouch of a school on FCS, but yeah, didn't want to move along without sending out our condolences there. Terrible thing to happen.
Yeah, our condolences. I can't imagine it.
Yeah, we'll just kick it off. So Brett, with you being down near the border, for where should we start? I wanted to make sure we cover all of our big 3 in wrestling and basketball, but there's also been some interesting things going on with the Olympics.
Yeah, I want to start with the Olympics. I love the Winter Olympics. I love the Olympics. You get to represent your country and cool stuff like curling. So yeah, like bring me up to speed on the Olympics and what's happening there.
You know, with the Winter Olympics, there's usually like curling has caught on like wildfire over the last couple of Olympics. And it's one of those where there's those random sports that just pop up. Like the dude from whatever country that is that, I don't know if it's winter or summer. I think it's winter, where the dude who just stands there with his hand on his hips, like holding the pistol out while he's shooting from what, Turkey or wherever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden everybody starts watching it, like wall climbing, stuff like that. And curling is one of the hottest ones, obviously, over the last couple of Olympics. So a couple different things. Let's start with hockey. So both men's and women's teams, the women's team just played today in their semifinal match against Sweden. I will say, man, those the ladies in hockey, they are not afraid to throw down. Sweden they get a little choppy too. Yeah, a couple different times. Our ladies were just getting back in their face now. They just kicked every shit out of Sweden. I think the U.S. women's team has actually broken a record for longest amount of time without being scored on now in the Olympics.
Really?
They got scored on.
Wow.
They got scored on by Czechia or Czechoslovakia. They got scored on by them in like the first game, and they have not been scored on since.
Wow.
They beat Canada
Dominant.
5. Yeah, they beat Canada 5-0. Who's likely who they're going to end up facing in a gold medal match. But one of our players, as we talked about a while back, Nate Heisey's sister, Iowa State's basketball player, Nate Heisey, his sister's on the team. She had a gold day. That girl is an absolute badass on the ice as well, and she is not afraid to get in another player's face. I absolutely love it.
Too bad her brother didn't get a little of that in TCU.
Oh gosh, well, and actually, we'll talk about that later. He was one of the few that played tough, at least, But no, they were getting ready to drop the puck today, and before they even drop the puck, she's the one at center ice. She's the one in the faceoff. She literally stops them from dropping the puck, goes over and gets in like a Sweden player's face that's over there faced off with somebody else. She didn't like the way that she was facing off against her own player. And I'm like, what? That is a freaking badass right there, man.
Can they fight in Olympic hockey?
They can. I don't think they let them go like full bore, but the men are not looking as dominant. They've won all their games. They beat the hell out of Germany yesterday. Now they're going to go into the quarterfinals. I can't remember who they play next, but they came out of pool play undefeated. I think that was it for them anyways, but yeah. So, of course, them and Canada, both undefeated. Now, Canada has definitely looked like the more dominant team. It's likely going to be those two facing off in the gold medal final. Who knows what will happen, right? Now, let's get on to some more fun stuff. Ski jumping.
I told you how I want to do that, right?
Well, I've got some questions for you on this.
Okay.
You talk about the sport of ski jumping. Well, for one, how often would you say, Brett, in conversation, do you ever talk about the sport of ski jumping?
Me talk about it? Like,
yeah.
Me bring it up and initiate the conversation, or like just natural conversation?
No, how many times in your life have you ever been involved in a conversation about ski jumping?
Probably about 37, I'm guessing.
That's more than I would have estimated. Now,
I love ski jumping.
Quite the scandal going on in the ski jumping world. Now, I'm going to read to you this headline from USA Today. Top plastic surgeon fuels penis gate, says he injected ski jumper last month. Now, two things here. Yes, I did say penis gate.
And you said plastic surgeon.
Plastic surgeon. So there is a scandal going on. Apparently, like the material used in making the ski jump uniforms is based off of, the density, the size of the human obviously wearing it. Now, the rule of thumb is the more material, the more lift the human being gets in coming off, because there's more material for the air to push up, and it helps you get a little bit more lift. Now, it has come to the attention of, I don't know, this is not anybody's wording other than mine, of maybe some less blessed ski jumpers, that other fortunately blessed ski jumpers maybe are using more material in certain areas of the uniform, which is in turn giving more lift. Now, that's an interesting topic to dive into. However, in Milan, this plastic surgeon, renowned for penis enlarging procedures, including the injection of hyaluronic acid, says he provided...
Don't they use that to clean pools?
I didn't know. I thought when I first heard it on the news that they said hydraulic acid. And I'm like, well, that's a whole new way to use the term giving a lift.
That
You
is
know,
true.
that is true. Um, prompted so reports from a German media outlet prompted a speculation that ski jumpers are getting this enlarging injection. I'm going to stop using the P word and G word, all that, because I just don't want people listening to this and going, God, how many times did you say that word? But, injections to increase the surface area of their suits, which would increase the distance of their jumps. The International Ski and Snowboard Federation called it a wild rumor, and the World Anti-Doping Agency said it would investigate it to see. Now, I have not followed up to see if there has been any legitimacy to these claims, but interesting hijinks being pulled in the world of ski jumping.
If this is made up, and trust me, I make up a lot of stuff.
Wow.
Like that is out there. Like they beat me because they got injections in their privates that added an inch of extra material that added 4 feet to their jump.
Well, and think of it this way. Remember the pole vaulter from the Summer Olympics? The one that didn't make it over the beam because, he was, again,
No.
blessed. You don't remember?
I don't really follow guys with big junk on my Instagram.
This one was,
I missed it.
That's a dirty move, Kincaid. Dirty move. Anyways, yeah, I saw it as I'm like, so are these ski jumpers? Because they were saying like, okay, that dude maybe didn't win the gold, by pole vault, but he definitely won the gold the minute he walked out of that stadium. I wonder if these ski jumpers that are getting this lift now, like over in Italy, the ladies are like, oh, well.
Well, the Olympics are notorious for like people letting 4 years of pent up aggression out.
Yeah, hormones, and they're in their fittest form in life, and it's like it's a whole village full of attractive people just looking at each other all day. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you know how it is walking around the world as attractive as you are. It's like it's just fighting them off.
Being a majestic elk. It's
that's exactly right. Yeah. All right. Now, ice dancing. I believe it was ice dancing.
I forgot about ice dancing. Tell me more.
Yeah, I will. So let me look this up here really quick because, forgive me, I wasn't as well prepared on the world of ice dancing as I should have been.
How? Why?
Skating Federation, so let's go this way. The controversy surrounds the Olympic ice dance as French duo Boudry and Cizeron beat U.S. stars Chalk and Bates. All right. Now, the reason is apparently Chalk and Bates had a hell of a performance and got stellar scores from all of the judges.
As they always do.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't know about Chalk and Bates? But they get stellar scores except for the damn French judge. The French judge gave them an unbelievable, just blasphemous score. And then, lo and behold, guess who ends up winning the gold over them?
Yeah. Typical ice dancing competition. Yeah. Like, it's so corrupt. It makes the NFL look legit.
I mean, and the French are assholes, man. We all know this. All right. Last but not least, and now I guess where I was going with this is Winter Olympics is something where, I enjoy watching the hockey and stuff like that. I love watching the snowboard cross, all that, where like the four of them are all in that gauntlet just like racing each other.
It's like Mad Max.
Yeah, I love watching the half pipe, even like the downhill. But some of these, I have not paid a ton of attention to a curling match because they're just so long. It's like watching, when you and I went to that cricket game, like they just take forever, right? It's interesting, very intriguing, but they just take a while.
Ballet of athleticism. That's what curling is.
Yeah. And the U.S. team, I've made it through parts of their games, but this was Canada versus Sweden.
Okay.
And I just happened to be watching this because it was Friday night or Saturday night. An Iowa State fan came across my X feed and said the Canadian cheater got called out for cheating against the curling match for Sweden. So I had to look this up. Yeah, this guy for Canada's curling team, they're playing Sweden, and it's like halfway through the match. Now, in curling, they go down the ice. He's down in his crouch position where he's got one leg all bent this way, the other one out behind him. His hand on top of hand on top of the rock, severely focused, and then you let go of it, and that's supposed to be it, right? Well, this guy, if you watch video, he lets go of the top of the rock and then takes his finger and then just kind of slowly goes like pokes the back of the rock.
So like David touching, he just touches the rock. And that makes a big difference.
He kind of, it's like he gives it a little extra push or something, or sometimes he kind of like turns it. I don't know. Anyways, you're literally between frames or whatever the hell they call it, and out of nowhere you hear raised voices. The dude from Sweden is like, well, if you guys would stop touching the rock after you let go of it. And all of a sudden you hear one of the guys from Canada, the guy who's been doing it. He goes, who's been doing that? And he goes, well, a few of you have. And he goes, which ones? And he just kind of points right at him. And I kid you not, the guy goes, no, fuck you. I've not been doing that. I haven't done that this entire match. He goes, and the guy's name must be Oscar from Sweden. They must, obviously, I'm sure they know each other. They've probably competed against each other. He goes, fuck you, Oscar. Yeah, and this is all on national, like worldwide television, just dropping F-bombs. He's like, how about you walking around here while I'm trying to slide the rock? He just starts going off. Yeah. Anyway, it was like they had to separate, like the teams didn't get in each other's face, but like they had to finally step in, like, all right, you go here, leave each other alone. But yeah, I mean, never would I have thought you would see that happen in the world of curling. Yeah, fuck you, Oscar.
That would have been hilarious if they would have gotten in a fight, like on the ice, like
swatting each other with their brooms.
Punch each other while their legs are going.
Yeah, dudes hitting each other over the head with their broom. Man, it was definitely intriguing because I mean the guy, if I remember rightly, the dude's like full on ginger. He looks, if you look at the Canadian team, you're like, if there's a guy that's gonna lose his temper, it's gonna be this guy. It's like putting me on a team full of like brunette people and being like, which one of these guys is the hothead?
Oh man.
So that's a little bit of a rundown on some Olympic hijinks that has been taken. Wow. Yeah, it's been interesting.
I'm mad at myself for missing all this fun.
I mean, it's been few and far between. I randomly learned about the whole ski jumping thing. I haven't. What's funny is the news has not been covering it that much. But yeah.
Penis gate does not roll off the tongue on national news.
No, it doesn't really. And you know, when you've got Mike Tirico like covering the Olympics, it's not something that he probably wants to be saying too much either.
No.
But overall, it's been an interesting Olympics. All right, Brett. So should we move back across the pond and dive into other sports here, or where do you want to go next?
I think we just rip the Band-Aid off and we talk about basketball.
All right. Well, before we hop into collegiate sports, since we're moving back across the map and we're now back in the Midwest, great time of year in the state of Iowa. The Iowa State High School Wrestling Tournament is kicking off this week.
Nice.
Shout out to Logan Magnolia again. They went out to the state tournament, or the state dual tournament, I should say, a few weeks ago. You know, they went in ranked 7th and they finished 7th place. So they met expectations. But the Logan Magnolia Panthers just got the rundown from my dad yesterday that, they exceeded expectations maybe and got 8 through to state. So,
oh, wow.
Should be awesome. A strong representation out there in Des Moines. But yeah, for anybody who lives in the state of Iowa, it's somewhat of a magical time of year in a way. Like there's just a feel about it, especially like if you go to Des Moines and you get to take in the environment just around, or you go out there for 3-4 days and you see nothing but heartbreak or absolutely dreams coming true. And it's that way all the way through. And it does. It sucks when you see the guys that get their heart broken, but you see these guys who maybe they go out there and maybe the expectations aren't so high and they pull off an upset and you're like, holy shit. It's absolutely amazing to see. I was never good enough to experience that, but at the same time, some of my teammates, some of my cousins, whatever, they were able to experience that as well. But yeah, anyways, so shout out to any of you high school wrestlers up there in the state of Iowa. Any of you guys from Logan that happen to be listening. I know there's some people from Logan that do listen to the show each week. So give the boys our best. Hopping into college sports though, Brett. Let's kick off with the ladies. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
All right. I was shocked to see, we were talking before we started recording. I'm at the gym earlier today, not paying attention to times of games this weekend. And I'm at the gym and I look up and Iowa and Nebraska's ladies, I thought they were playing tonight. I don't even know what time they tip.
With that matchup.
Did they tip off at noon or what?
I think so.
But by early in the second half, Iowa was kicking the pretty good hell out of Nebraska. So over in Lincoln.
I think our picks of all teams making the tournament, I don't know if the Nebraska women's is going to. They're kind of on a skid.
Yeah, we'll have to see with that one. They're 16-10, a 10-loss team in the women's tournament. I know the bracketology works a little bit different than the men's, but I don't know. Kind of depends, I guess, on how the rest of the conference does. 16-10 would maybe be a bubble team, if anything, I'm assuming. But the Iowa women, 20-5.
Yeah,
So
yeah. They're
looking
looking good.
They're looking tough, and they had to kind of pull themselves out of a rut. They were on a bit of a skid recently, and this game is definitely going to help them. You know, this rivalry means way more to these fans than anybody outside of these two states knows. We talked about it during football season. We're like, I even asked Mike a long time back. I'm like, what is it that makes you guys hate each other so much? Because it's like Iowa State fans think they hate Iowa, and then even when we played Nebraska, actually, we didn't really hate Nebraska. Nebraska hated us, though. And we were like, what do we, like, why do we don't hate you guys. You beat us every year. And Nebraska just associated us with Iowa.
I think they hated Iowa State because of those 1 or 2 times in a decade, or I'm sorry, in a century that they would win. It was just like,
that's true.
They were just like, what happened?
Yeah, it is. I mean, I get it. I mean, Oklahoma State still has grievances with us for the similar thing, even though, like, I think our record versus Oklahoma State's a little bit more comparable than versus Nebraska. Well, so moving forward, Iowa ladies, they continue on. They're actually going to be, look here, who do they got next? They're actually going to be taking on Purdue. And then they got the top-ranked Michigan team coming to Carver next weekend. Nebraska actually moves on to take on, they got a little bit easier road. They got Oregon, Washington, and then Rutgers. So they've got a chance to rack up some wins. Now, moving back across the Missouri over to Ames, the Iowa State ladies actually played Kansas State this last weekend. Actually, it was yesterday, I believe. I watched the game. They had it was a pink uniform game, and at points Iowa State would kind of look like they were going to dominate this and pull away. Kansas State kept it spicy, though. They stayed in the game, ended up winning. Iowa State ends up winning 76-72, which they needed for sure. So our ladies are sitting at 20-6 right now. They are unranked, which after the skid they went on does not surprise me. But yeah, they've got to play Arizona State next in Hilton. Then they come down here to Fort Worth. I would say we should go to it, Brett, but based off of previous experience, it's probably best we avoid that. And let them just play the game without us in their presence.
Absolutely.
Yep. And then, dude, we're getting down to like the last 5-6 games of the season for each of these teams.
I know, man. It's getting ready to be madness time.
Freaking wild, man. Yeah. So they get that win against KState, which was very much needed. Like I said, they've got some tough games coming up, but we'll see. They're in a good spot for, a solid spot in the tournament. As far as where that seeding is going to be, who knows for them. With an unranked team, we could be looking at a 7, 8, 9 seed. If they win the rest of the games, where they win out or lose one game the rest of the season, they could easily be looking at a 4, 5, 6. You never know. So that's that overall. And then we also have the Big 12 tournament coming up, which we're going to wait till we get to the men's, and we'll talk about Mr. York's recent big announcement for the Big 12 tournament. That also happened while you were out. Yeah, you did. It was one of those that was very... they teased it for like a week about how this is going to be amazing. Like, this is going to be groundbreaking. We're going to change the way the Big 12 tournament is done because we're the Big 12 and we're that conference that's going to do, essentially. And then it's kind of like throwing like lighting off a firework that you're like, get ready for this show. And then it just kind of goes, So going over to the men, Iowa, tale of two cities here. Iowa, we'll start with Nebraska. Nebraska plays Northwestern this last weekend. This is going on while Iowa State has KU and Ames. So I'm keeping an eye on it because at one point in time, I pull it up and Nebraska, they hit a 3 right before half to take the lead, meaning Northwestern's hanging right there with them. And you're sitting here going like, holy shit. And Nebraska's just coming off a couple losses. Northwestern hangs. And then Nebraska must have gone in at half and Hoiberg's like, all right, guys, who the fuck are you? You guys remember, like, we should not be hanging with this team. Like, this team should not be hanging with us. This is what Hoiberg used to do at Ames a lot, too. This is like when Iowa State was down by like 20 to Oklahoma at halftime one game. And then they came out and literally, I think they went on a 23-0 run. And that's what Nebraska did here. They came out and just blew the freaking doors off of Northwestern. I was well zoned into Iowa State and KU. And I brought it up like 10 minutes after halftime thinking, okay, well, let's see if, Nebraska's still got the lead. They're up by like 20 points. That game goes on. So Hoiberg keeps them very, very well, in the running for a solid top 3 seed in the NCAA tournament, depending on how everything goes the rest of the way. And then we look at the men for Iowa. So you go across the river all the way over to the east side of Iowa. And Iowa plays Purdue later that evening and just gets their shit rocked in Carver. And this was one of those where I felt so bad for Iowa fans because they've been getting a lot of shit this year. It's been, Carver can't fill up. You can't get fans in the stands. How dare they show up and they're so quiet, sitting on their hands, blah, blah, blah. They feel like I don't know if it was sold out. It was damn close. And the Hawkeyes come in and Purdue, dude, at one point in time, I was texting some of the boys back from college, and it's like almost 60% of Purdue's points came from outside the 3-point line. Dude, it's just like when that's
you just kind of want to be like, we're not going to win. Like,
yeah, I mean,
no matter what we do,
if they're hitting the 3 that good, it doesn't matter how well they could have been. Like, Purdue could have been playing Arizona, and they probably would have been beating them by 10.
Yeah.
So yeah, it did not go well. That crowd was ruckus for about maybe 10 minutes of the game, and then the rest of it was just one of those where like it got to where if Iowa made a layup, you'd hear like a hey,
we scored, yay! Here comes 4 3-pointers in a row.
Yeah, that's kind of what was going on too. And like the amount of times announcers were like, "This is a guy that's not really well known for making 3-pointers, and he's made 3." It's like Jesus Christ, like that. I mean, the amount of times as Iowa State fans we've seen that happen against us, usually in away games, but like out of nowhere, some guy that's like 1 for 15 from the 3-point line has the best game of his life, and you lose by 15 to fucking Cincinnati. But all right, well, speaking of that, let's roll into Ames. You didn't get to see the game, but you saw the score, I'm sure.
I did.
Yeah. Now, but let's go back in time. So let's go back to last Tuesday when you and I were driving through the usually shitty rush hour traffic in DFW to get down to Fort Worth. And what was our experience? Like, let's talk about like from beginning to end. Like, what was our experience as our boys, number 5 ranked Cyclones, come down here to Fort Worth?
So it started out amazing, like standing outside and having the most Iowa conversation ever of, hey, where are you guys from? I'm from this town. Oh, do you know so-and-so? Yeah, I know so-and-so. And then people would just...
From Ottumwa? What? I'm from Osceola.
And then another Iowa State fan would come in and be like, oh, hey, where are you from? Do you know so-and-so? And that happened, what, 5 times? 6
way
times?
more than that. Way more than that. Like, those were just the ones that we were, like, in the immediate circle of. Like, all around us, on the circle outside of us, every single person. So where are you guys from? Oh, well, I'm from, North Sioux City, or I'm from, Appaloosa, or whatever. It was crazy.
Yeah. It was the most Iowa thing I've experienced in a long time, and it was amazing. Yeah. And then it went downhill from there. And
the one was funny because the one guy, he asked where, I said we were from on the side of like where the Council Bluffs area was. Oh, well, I'm from Davenport. He immediately just no interest whatsoever in continuing that conversation. It's almost like when I'm on so far on the opposite side of the state. Let's not even bother.
You're too close to Nebraska for me.
Right. And then the one lady, it was funny. She kept saying where she was from. I think she was from Waukee, but she kept referring to her. She goes, I'm from Waukee. And everybody, oh, okay. But she knows that's like a suburb of Des Moines. So anybody who's small towns and be like, oh, okay, you're a big city, right? But my husband is from Harlan. And then, oh, okay, yeah. It was just hilarious, the social Iowa game. But yeah, it was great it's always great to be around so many people from the homeland, if you will. But yeah, and then the in-game experience, just like Brett, I mentioned this to somebody just the other day. You made an observation right away that really kind of set the tone for what the entire game ended up being. And that was when we walked in. And what was it you said when you looked down and Iowa State and TCU were quote unquote like kind of warming up?
I noticed that TCU seemed to be taken a lot more serious and more engaged, and Iowa State had their players sitting on the bench and just kind of shooting basketballs and really kind of half-assing it.
It kind of looked like one of those movie scenes where like the arrogant team, is over there. It's almost like in the Mighty Ducks when like Iceland was playing the U.S. team and like I don't even think I'm not recalling the movie at all. I'm not saying that, but it would have been like that scenario, right? TCU was over there. You know, they're having a good time. They're joking around with each other, but they're taking shots. There's guys that are like lined up one-on-one. They're playing defense. They're reenacting like, you know, different situations. And you look over, I'm not going to say names because I don't want to call out any specific player, but some of our best players are just sitting while this is all going on one side of the court. You know, literally guys are just sitting back like this, arms slacked over the chair.
Just chilling.
Yeah.
They didn't want to be there.
And we're talking like two of our absolute best 3 or 4 players sitting over there. We had one guy that was one of our top players that was out there shooting. He did not have a good game at all.
No
but
one did.
But he was shooting, right? He was at least shooting. Now, crazy thing is the guys that were shooting were our freshmen. Our freshman guys that are stepping up, that are making big plays, made hella big plays in the Kansas game. Those were the only guys out there shooting. And this just goes on. Some of those guys never got up out of the freaking chairs, man. And then they go back to the tunnel. Both teams do. And then they come out and then they do their pregame, like the 5 minutes before the game starts, warm up. And of course, they're all active then. But it just like, it's funny because after that game, I kind of thought to myself, I'm like, man, Brett really hit it on the head, which is like those, you know, for two guys that, again, we constantly say we don't know shit about basketball. You look down and you can tell like which one of these teams has fire and which does not.
You could tell who was going to put the effort in, and it showed. Like TCU played amazing defense.
They played tough.
I mean, amazing. And that was from the start. Like they had the effort. And Iowa State didn't.
Yeah, and one of our most beloved players, again, I'm not saying names, I mean, anybody who's listening can figure out who in the hell we're talking about. It was shocking for me to see, like, he was one of the guys just sitting down there, like, lounged out in the chairs, just, like, hanging out. Didn't take, like, maybe more than 2 or 3 shots before they went back and came out for, like, the initial warm-ups. But like I said, TCU was over there just going at it with each other. Like, they were amped, man. What was there? Probably 500-600 Iowa State fans and probably, like, 2,000 TCU fans.
If that, I don't even think that many.
They got fined for storming the court afterwards. And what's funny is I'm just sitting here going like, can you call it a court storming? Was it maybe just like 10 people casually walking across the court?
Probably.
Because like, yeah, by the end of the game, like TCU fans, I hate to say it, like kudos to the ones that were there. But shit, even their own fans were leaving the game. Like their crowd had dissipated by the time the end of the game had come around. And I'm like, wait, so like 10 to 15 to maybe 25 people run on the court and you're going to give them a $25,000 fine for this? Like, you got to be shitting me right now.
Well, I was hoping it was going to be smaller so that dude that hit the half-court shot at halftime would just like pay it out of his pocket and be a legend at TCU.
Man, what a freaking, just what's crazy is like how lackadaisical he was in that shot. It was literally just the like that from his chest.
And like he took it, the first shot, missed it, and then was like, I'm just going to throw it up, and it went in. It was amazing.
Yeah, man. Yeah, Iowa State lays an egg. You know, they ended up coming back, and then there's just turnover city going on. You can't have 18 turnovers and expect to win a game. And TCU is one of those teams that TCU's beat Florida. You know, they've had some good games. Like what's crazy is you look at them on the floor, and it's like some of those guys, like we were kind of, a few of those guys they just look like the stereotypical guys that, I don't know how to say it. They dress like they're players. Good. Yeah, role players more than anything. And they ended up like really stepping up and playing really well. Like you said, they were the tougher team. They absolutely were.
They had the effort.
And then, so we move on down the road to Saturday. Oh, by the way, Otzelberger apparently had a closed press conference. No player availability after the game. Said, I'm not letting you talk to the players. Usually with Otz, that probably means the players got their ass chewed, I'm guessing, which he doesn't. I don't know if he does very often, or maybe he said, you know what, you guys aren't talking to the press conference. I'm going to go handle this. You guys find out who you are, and you stay in here and talk about it. But apparently Josh Jefferson really stepped up, like throughout practice the rest of the week, stepped up as a leader, which, you know, after his game, that makes sense. I think he turned it over 7 or 8 times himself. You and I were both kind of saying like he just looked like he was like sluggish.
Well, the couple times he'd be like walking down the court, kicking his feet like a 3-year-old that just got in trouble. And then really they would run by him. Yeah, it was really very weird. Strange.
Yeah, it was, and it was one of those where it's frustrating as a fan. But the thing is like we know as fans too, like you don't know like what's all going on behind the scenes either. Like, is there something going on mentally with Josh where like he's struggling with something too, right? There's always that. Basketball, we talk about football players being head cases. I can't even imagine what it's like for a basketball player.
Oh, and could you imagine, like, at least football, you got your helmet on, you can hide. Basketball, there's only 5 of you.
Yeah.
And your struggles are very apparent. And hey,
especially when you're standing at that free throw line, right? You're the only one in motion.
Yeah. But it sounds like he got it turned around
took the
for
right course.
KU.
Yeah, he did. He still struggled. It's like, it's one of those where Fran Fraschilla, one of the announcers for the KU game, he broke things down in a better way than I had heard anybody all season. Because, Josh had a few turnovers against KU. The typical, like I was talking to you about down at TCU, it's like somehow when he's dribbling down the lane, it gets turned over. And I don't understand, like, what is going on here? Because with his position, like, that should be one of the top skills that you master. And Fran brought the fact, he said he dribbles so high. So apparently, like, when he's dribbling, he's bringing the ball up way too high, and it leaves him vulnerable to get that ball swatted away. Yeah. Totally makes sense. And after he said that, but, how do you fix that? Shit, I don't know. I wrestled in high school. I don't know shit about coaching basketball.
I can't dribble a basketball, so I don't know the right way to dribble a basketball.
You and I sitting there dribbling it, looking down at the ground, doing this while we're dribbling it. But yeah, so KU comes to town. Iowa State was favorites, but I was fully expecting, I don't know. Hilton Magic hadn't really been like the rumpus crowd that like we had really been hoping for all season. There's been some things that have been working against the fans as far as creating the same situations that they used to. I didn't know what to expect. I did not expect, after it being 6-2, 5 minutes into the game or whatever it was, this was going to be the game it was. Iowa State woke up with a vengeance. The crowd brought it. Otzelberger gave kudos to, the Hilton crowd, saying that they were a big factor in it. Bill Self, who I've gained so much respect for over the last couple of years, just with the shit he deals with from the national media, constantly saying, Kansas is washed up. It's finally happened. And he brings that team back every year, and he just becomes more of a fan favorite every year too. Gave a ton of kudos to the Iowa State environment. And then they asked him in the end of the game, they said, what was the biggest factor in this game? And he's like, their players played better than ours. That's pretty much what it was. He's like, I don't know. He's like, they had the better basketball players on the court. I don't know how else you want me to say it. But yeah, so just an absolute dominant win, which the guys needed, because when the AP rankings came out today, I think without that win, just the TCU loss probably would have been borderline out of the top 10. They only dropped down one spot, so they're number 6.
Yeah, if they wouldn't have had that win, they should have dropped out. Mm-hmm. Like that, because that TCU game was so bad. So it's good that they rallied.
Yeah,
and got their shit together.
Dude, they found themselves, hopefully they found themselves, for, how do I say this? They found their identity for the long run, because they've got a shit stretch in front of them. They got to play Houston tonight, man. Luckily it's in Hilton, but the number 2 team comes to town against the number 6 Cyclones. The students are already camped out outside of Hilton in Ames. They got the whole no camping out policy put in place on them as well, which is a bunch of bullshit. Jamie Pollard is not winning the hearts of fans right now. No. And there's been all sorts of weird shit, but they got that going on. So, hopefully the crowd brings it tonight. Iowa State's a 1.5 point favorite. Now, looking at Big 12 basketball as well, Jerome Tang finally did enough that Kansas State had enough of him. So $18 million buyout, which they're trying to skirt their way around. They're trying to fire him for cause. But what would you think their cause is?
Kansas State? I'm guessing probably drinking and partying with the sorority girls.
I think Jerome Tang is a godly man. I guarantee he's not been doing any of that.
It happens at Kansas State.
It does. I mean, it also happened at Iowa State. I mean,
that is true.
The old scary Larry.
That is true.
But no, the rumor is they're trying to use his press conference from after the Cincinnati loss as their cause. When he said Kansas State players they don't deserve to be wearing these jerseys. Like they're, I can't remember if he said they're a disgrace. He said he was ashamed of them. Like they don't deserve to be on this team. All this stuff just went off on them. And then the next week he removed all their names from their jerseys.
That's like coaching 101.
And I think it's the timing. Jake Bren from Iowa Everywhere made a good point. He's like, it's the timing of it. Or Cyclone Fanatic, sorry. But Yeah, he's like, if he had been saying this 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago, they would have been like, okay. But literally, the press conference before that, people said, are you disappointed in the performance of your guys today? And this was after Iowa State just walked into Manhattan and just took all of their self-esteem and walked away with it. And he's like, no, I'm not disappointed in anything. Why would I be disappointed? And then the next press conference, he's like, these guys should be ashamed of themselves. They should never wear Kansas State jerseys again. Like, we're having 6 o'clock practice tomorrow morning, which there's a rumor that apparently he just locked them in a room and made them watch Air Bud.
If it's 6 a.m., that's not a bad thing. That's a pretty good movie.
As punishment, put them in a room, lock them in a room, and make them watch Space Jam 2.
That would be punishment. Air Bud? No, that's a good movie.
Yeah. But so as far as back to what's upcoming, Iowa State's got this lovely stretch in front of us. I said it goes to Houston comes to town tonight. And then they got BYU coming up next Saturday, which BYU just lost one of their best players that, unfortunately, the guy, and it's fortunate for Iowa State, they don't have to see this guy again, because this guy has been a thorn in their side the last couple times we've played BYU. Richie Saunders against Colorado this last week, which I was shocked to see. The game went into overtime. Colorado is absolutely terrible, but he tore his ACL, and he's one of their best players, so he's out. I'll say I'll just say bad week for the basketball program and university overall. Yeah. But so BYU without Saunders, and then we're getting to Brett. We're getting to the last 5-6 games of the season. It's coming down to the wire. The guys are sitting number 6. Nebraska has Iowa coming to town. I'm sorry, they're coming to Iowa City tomorrow against the Hawkeyes. Yeah, that'll be a good game. Number 9, Nebraska coming in. Mm-hmm. I think Iowa's going to play them strong. Right now, Nebraska's only a 1.5-point favorite. Coming into Carver. ESPN had them at like a 50.6% chance of winning. So really? I think it's going to be a good game. Yeah. It's one of those where it's like, I'm not stealing, but I am this analysis, because I heard somebody talking about this. Like, it's not like the team that you're playing is not necessarily what you need to be mostly concerned about. Bill Self made a very good point of this. Chris Williams talked about this, earlier this week, but it's when you're playing that particular team. Like, Iowa State loses to TCU, Iowa State, like when they have lost some of their games, like they've been in this, like that slump of their schedule. Nebraska went through what you can call a slump. They played 2 of the best freaking teams in their conference that they lost to. Iowa has been going through a slump. It's going to be interesting, because I think both of these teams are kind of coming back out of their quote-unquote slump, if you will. It's going to be a dogfight, man. So we'll see how that goes tomorrow night. But yeah, number 9, Nebraska, which they, even after beating the hell out of Northwestern, dropped a couple spots. But you know what? Like we talked about, there's that brand bias that's working against them. And be honest with me, seeing them ranked number 9 in basketball, that's weird. It is. Very weird. Still is. Yeah. It is weird, because it's the overall like basketball rankings it's kind of weird in general. So the AP just comes out today, and we've got Michigan number 1, Houston number 2, Duke, Arizona. So you're looking at, I don't know, can we call Michigan a blue blood in basketball? I know they had the 4 horsemen back in the day, or was it the Fab 5 or the 4 horsemen? Fab 5. Okay, Fab 5. And then UConn. So there's 4 out of the top 5 I would call are blue bloods. I don't know if I would call Michigan that anymore. Ooh, don't say that to a Michigan fan. That is true. But then you got IS. They think their tiddlywink team is blue blood. I should say, so what I'll say here is 8 out of the top 10, 7 out of the top 10 are blue bloods. That's including Michigan. You got Michigan, Houston, Duke, Arizona, UConn, Purdue, KU, and Illinois. Well, Purdue and KU. Those are your 7. And then you got little old Iowa State, the top 10 is not a stranger to us. Yeah. But then you got Nebraska and Illinois. And Illinois has been up there too. But just, it's strange. So we'll see at the end of the season. Now, getting to that Big 12 news that just was like a total, like I said, dud of a firework. So Brett Yormark makes a big deal about it. And dude, people went rampant with this for like 4 or 5 days. A lot of fans online were going, shit, we're moving the Big 12 to that's a lot of people getting pissed off. But he had literally Arizona, Utah fans. going against, Iowa State, Kansas fans going like, well, why wouldn't we move it out? It was completely all for naught. It was just a whole pissing match. And then it went into this, oh, okay, well, now they're going to create an NIL pool where the winning team gets to, win this many NIL funds that they can distribute amongst their university. All sorts of crazy shit happened, right? And then the announcement finally comes, and they are now going to have an LED glass floor on the court for the Big 12 tournament. That was the breaking announcement. So essentially, the court, as you've seen, I think it was like the NBA All-Star game or some of those they can make the court look different ways. And also, I'm sure they're going to run friggin' commercials on it. Like,
they're going to have all kinds of advertisements on there.
Dude, going to be ridiculous. Apparently, one of the women's teams in the Big 12 already had a chance to play on this, said they really loved it. But I don't know. There's a lot of people were just like, huh, that's what we were waiting for, huh?
That was the surprise.
Yeah, and he built that up for like a week and a half.
Like, there's no more to that. That was it. There's not like, we're going to do this LED court and then have Pitbull perform.
Nope. That was absolutely it. It was one of those where it's like, I heard it best when they're like, listen, it's the Big 12 tournament in basketball. You don't need to dress this up any more than it already is. It is the most elite conference basketball tournament in the nation. Like,
and
the
toughest, greatest environment. Like, Kansas City is the greatest environment for
it. Yes, man. Yes. And it doesn't matter. Like, you can call it Hilton South, and we can have Iowa State bias there, but I've been there. Like, Iowa State fans, like, we brag a lot about how we go down and own the place. It is true, but it's not as true as the bias speaks to. Kansas fans bring it. Kansas State fans bring it. Shit, Texas Tech fans showed up hella amazing over the last couple of years. Baylor fans, like, it's wild. Yeah, and it's one of those where, like, you don't need to dress up the prom queen any more than she's already dressed up.
No. And honestly, like, kind of wish you wouldn't have shared that breaking news with me, because now I'm like, ugh,
dude,
like that was awful. Like, what were they thinking?
All I know is they set themselves up for failure, because I think everybody's just going to look to be mad at it now. That's my anticipation. I really think everybody's going to look for a reason to bitch about it. And I also don't know, like, what's the difference between sliding on a hardwood floor? Like, Taman Lipsey, that dude's all over the damn floor in every game. Like, what type of burn is he going to sustain from sliding on glass versus sliding on a hardwood floor?
We could always test it out. Like, will you go slide across some glass and tell me how bad it hurts?
We're going to have to go find a pane of glass.
I think I know a guy.
Okay. And then it's also going to, it's going to have to sustain my big ass slamming down on it. All right. So that's enough about basketball. Big game against Houston tonight. The border war between, or the fury over the Missouri, however you want to call it, tomorrow night in Carver. Really quick rundown on wrestling. Iowa ended up beating number 10 Michigan in a pretty close duel, and Purdue, I believe it was. We're winding down on wrestling right now. We got conference tournaments coming up here. Iowa State wrestled a tough UNI team, ranked UNI team, I should say, and ended up knocking them off pretty handily. Just make sure I'm not missing. They have Missouri coming to town next weekend. So yeah, they knocked off UNI and handled West Virginia really well. So Nebraska Friday. Nebraska knocked off number 11 Illinois and then beat number 20 Indiana yesterday. So they have a Utah Valley team coming to town here pretty soon. I don't know much about Utah Valley. But yeah, Iowa, like I said, they take down Michigan and Purdue. Interestingly enough, Iowa ends the season, regular season, next week in Stillwater. So they're coming down to wrestle Oklahoma, out of conference Oklahoma State team. And then they hop into the Big 12 championship. So right now, Iowa State, Iowa, and Nebraska, if I believe I'm correct, they're sitting all in, I think, the top 6 or 7 in the country. So let me look here really quick just to make sure. Yep. So Iowa State's at 4, Nebraska's at 5, Iowa's at 7. Heading in. Looking good to end the season. I know, Brett, you wanted to touch on the tough news for the Iowa State gymnastics team as well.
Yeah, like I am now, like I always joke I jinx teams I root for, and it's 100% proven. The other day I was watching them against the Blue Blood Utah, and I'm like, I really need to start supporting Iowa State gymnastics. We had a great experience with the team. That was so cool. And then the next day they announced that they're just going to call the season because they don't have
Yeah.
enough gymnasts. And it's like, I'm just going to stop rooting for people.
That's such a sad news. It's just sad overall because, we had that experience last year. Was it last year or 2 years ago?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, where we were up in Denton and we ended up meeting the families of the gymnastics team. We weren't even planning on going to the gymnastics meet at Texas Women's, and we ended up going. So the moms and the parents, I should say, and the gymnasts all invited us to go, and we ended up going to Texas Women's University and watching them versus, I think it was New Hampshire, Texas Women's, and somebody else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, an absolutely amazing experience. Josie Bergstrom her mom was the one that we ended up sitting with, I think, most of the match.
Mm-hmm.
Josie ended up being a hell of a gymnast. Became huge fans of those ladies.
Yeah, they're freaking warriors. For them to not be healthy to compete, like, did they all lose their legs?
There's all sorts of speculation. And this is another thing that's kind of been working against Jamie Pollard recently, is the fact that he's not speaking up about anything. Like, he's not saying anything, but then, C-Dub, Chris Williams, he kind of said that if anybody's going to know, it's going to be him. He's, one of the biggest insiders of Iowa State athletics. He even said there's all sorts of speculation of, like, was there abuse? Was the coach hurting the gymnasts on? It just comes down to the fact that they just don't have enough healthy gymnasts. Like, you do sustain injuries, but the biggest thing that keeps coming up is like, okay, well, we have 18 gymnasts on our roster. We only need 6 to compete. How the hell can we not maintain 6 healthy gymnasts? That's a valid question too. I don't know. I really don't.
And even when we were there watching them, the one gymnast was on the balance beam doing her routine, and her mom's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, she has like a torn ACL and I think like
and a busted ankle."
Yeah. And I'm like, what?
She's out there in basically like a full body brace doing the friggin' beam.
Again, those warriors like saying we can't do it. I'm like, did they all lose their legs? Like, are they all amputees now? That's the only thing I can think of.
It reaches a point too where, like, I looked at their season record. I think they'd only won like 2 meets, so they were like 2-6 or 2-8 or something. And it's almost like you wonder, it's like because the official statement was for the health of the athletes. Like, we've decided not to continue. So you almost wonder if it's like it would be like the football team sustaining. Well, I mean, shit. I mean, our defense basically did that the last 2 seasons, but sustaining so many injuries that you're running. It's tough to put enough players on the field to play. And then you look at your record and you're like, we're not going to do anything. Like, I don't know if that happened or not. It would make sense. But fuck, just come out and say it. Like, hey guys, listen, we've won 2 meets and we barely won those. We've been getting our asses handed to us for the mental health and physical health of the athletes. We've decided to just call this one a wash.
Yeah. And by coming out and like saying what it is, you have people, or you stop people from saying things like, oh, is there abuse? Like all this other speculation. Yeah,
they started going into like Larry Nassar type shit. Yeah. It was crazy. Like, there was all sorts of shit like spreading around. It's like, guys, come on. Like, you understand the damage that can do to a coach? Especially like, so what? It got completely made up, but it's just like I say about people who get accused of sexual assault or whatever. Once that hits the news, guilty or not, sorry, it's stuck with you.
Yeah. So, well, and the gymnasts, then people start questioning. And it's like,
all bunch of shit. It sucks. On the positive note, there's a bunch of people rallying saying like, hey, if we're getting rid of gymnastics, are we bringing baseball back? I'm like, guys, you can't get rid of a women's sport and bring a men's sport back. That's not how, that's just not how it works. So, but then they're like, well, let's bring on women's wrestling and then we can bring baseball back. And it's like, I know we all want baseball to come back. There's a reason why it got cut in the first place. We weren't good.
Yeah. Like, Iowa State does not scream baseball powerhouse to me.
No, that's not one of those where, granted, farm boys were good on a wrestling mat, we're good on a football field, but you put us on a baseball diamond, Field of Dreams isn't exactly reality, No. Man. Before we say our goodbyes, Brett and I have befriended through social media a music group down south. It's called Down 430. It's a country group that they've been seeing some success recently. They've had some shows in Nashville. I know they've been in the studio recording. Really looking for big things out of these guys. Their music's great and excited to hear. We still have to confirm a time and a day, but they're going to be hopping on the show with us. So we'll get a chance to learn about them, learn about where their journey has come from, where they're going to be going. I think you're going to be hearing these guys a lot, and really excited to meet with them. So Rhett and I'll be powwowing with them, hopefully here within the next week. And yeah, you all get to hear from them and jump on board the wagon.
Yeah,
we're fans already.
Finally, we might get some talent on this podcast.
I don't know. Shit, he ain't going to hear it from us, right? For those of you that are listening to us today, thank you for listening to us and continuing to listen to us. I know we've increased as far as how many people are listening on all three of the platforms, which happen to be Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. If you want to see our ugly faces, the best place is usually YouTube. We don't always upload the videos to Spotify, but I'll try to be better at that moving forward. As far as socials, you can find us on X. You can find us on TikTok. We do have a presence on Facebook. But if you want to see a lot of our funny clips, usually on Facebook and Spotify, our X platform, I got to do better at that, man. Like our X platform's been pretty dormant. But look us up at Loyal Sons Forever or the Loyal Sons Podcast. Like I said, all you got to do is look for the lovely logo of the state of Iowa outline with the tornado blowing through it. You found us. And as Brett always likes to say,
smash that like button and share with your friends. This is like the gift that keeps on giving. It's better than Christmas. So share this magic.
Yep, absolutely. It is, as I like to say, oral magic.
Oral magic.
All right. Well, we're going to close it out, but as we always say, enjoy the warm weather back in Iowa recently. Enjoy the state tournament for those of you heading out to Des Moines. For those of you heading to Hilton tonight, get wild. For those of you heading to Carver tomorrow, enjoy and crack open a few cold Busch Lights for us while you're at it. How's that sound?
Sounds amazing.
All right. Well, have a good one, y'all. We'll talk to you later.
All right. See ya.